So it's DC the Blacksmith back, and let's talk about this debate um, and how it went down. I will say that this debate was obviously better than the first debate. Even though this is the first debate with these candidates, it is still technically the second debate of the 2024 election. So let's recap because there's been some changes in between. So with the first debate, it was Trump against Biden. Biden had decided that he wanted to be the incumbent for whatever reason. And he went up on the debate stage and he did not look good. Everybody wants to say what they want to say. He lost. He didn't feel well, whatever the case was. If you go to the Super Bowl, and I'm not a sports person, but if you go to the Super Bowl and the whole team is sick and they lose, they lose. Okay, yeah, they were sick. They still lost though. But so that was debate one. After that, Biden, from my understanding of the news reports, continued to be sick. We did not see very much of him, and they started polling for other candidates, polling for Kamala, and the Democrat Party made the decision. Y'all notice I said Democrat Party and not Democratic Party, because when you're speaking of the party, you just have to say the Democrat Party. Democratic is the process by which we run government. But anyways, the Democrat Party decided to change their candidate. So before I get fully into the debate, and I will try to timestamp as much as possible because that's what I do and I feel it's courteous. Before we get too much into the summary and recap of this debate, I want to glance over how we run our presidential election system. And I will start by saying I am not defending any which party, especially not the Democrat Party. However, I don't like when people put out false narratives about, someone subverted something and they didn't do what they were supposed to. So in America, when it's time for us to pick our presidential candidate, we have chosen to remain beholden to the party system that I'm pretty sure it's the Federalist Papers warn against. And therefore, outside of the process that we know, where we go and put, our vote in for the ultimate person who's going to be president, what we do is each party picks a candidate that they are going to nominate. The federal government is not in charge of how each political party chooses to nominate a candidate. So we are used to primarily seeing the two parties, which is the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. But there are other parties, and each party is allowed to choose however they want to, process of elimination, primary, however they want to put forth a candidate. So at the time of the last debate, the Democrat Party had not formally committed to a candidate, even though Biden was the presumptive nominee or presumptive candidate that Democrats were going to put forth. They had not formally submitted that this was our candidate. Now, we can go into, and I don't think the Republicans had either. Oh, because in between this all, there was an assassination attempt on the former president. And then there was the convention. So let me think. I don't know. I may have my timelines wrong. But however, the parties are allowed to choose how they want to get to their candidate. We are used to seeing primaries. We are used to seeing, whatever goes down and whoever is successful after the primary votes among the states, among the parties. Those are internal systems. So It was presumptively Biden, but not formalized as Biden. They decided he wasn't it. They decided to go a different route. And they are holding to, well, when we did the primary, both Biden and Kamala were on our ticket. So the voters, by process of elimination, chose her. I don't know. I somewhat agree, only for the fact that life and not life can happen. So if anything unfortunate had happened, they would have had to pick a different candidate. And more than likely, it would have been who was already on the ticket. So just because it just so happens that it was a voluntary process, that could have just as easily been an involuntary process. And had it been an involuntary process, the outcome would have been the same. All that to say, I think we need to get back to understanding what things are federally mandated, what things are state mandated, what things are privately controlled. At the end of the day, political parties are private enterprises. If they want to participate in national state elections, they have to follow those local and federal rules. But how the party governs itself is a private process. And I think that's important to remember. This year, the Republicans had a primary. Unfortunately, we got stuck. This is what happened. We had a primary system. We had weak candidates who were more interested in booty licking than they were interested, to me, in actually bringing our party back to what it used to be. So we had a primary, and this is what we got stuck with. We had a full primary. The Democrats chose to have, let me not say that. The Democrats had a primary, but the Democrats also had weak challengers. They had campaigns who were whining more about, oh, we're not getting airtime in the age of social media. I think that RFK is running as an independent. I think that's the party that he's choosing to run under. Is it the Libertarian Party? I don't think it is. I think libertarians are mostly absorbed in the Republican Party. But whatever he's running as, if you ask me, it was weak campaigning. He is a Kennedy, and he's whining about, oh, I didn't get TV coverage, and I didn't get this, and I didn't get that. You mean to tell me that you're a Kennedy and you're broke, that you didn't have money to fund a campaign, that all of these social media outlets, that you couldn't find any big name social media outlets to host on? People watch YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and whatever else you want to name more than they watch the TV. And you couldn't get coverage. You didn't want coverage. You're running for attention. Anyways, we're, about 8 or something minutes in, but I just wanted to kind of highlight that as the backdrop of what's going on. I've been gone for a little bit, so I may have missed the summation of a few things, but that's where we are. Anyways, let's start the actual recap of the debate. So ABC News hosted this debate. And again, I mentioned already that even though this is the first debate between these candidates, this is the second debate of this presidential election cycle. Second, official debate. My first issue was that this started at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Now, I just feel like that I was ready to go to bed. And the debate didn't last that long. But if you're going to start something at 9 p.m. Eastern time, 7 wouldn't have worked. 8 wouldn't have worked. If you're going to do it at 9, then you need to put this on a Friday or a Saturday or something like that. I didn't appreciate this being on Tuesday at 9. I got work. And I know people going to say, well, what about the people on the West Coast? That's a choice. I don't know what to say. Anyways, there was no audience. The mics were muted between answers. And I believe I've heard reports that Kamala's team actually did not want that. And it could have been the other way around, but one team did not want that. I think the reason we do that now is because of the Trump and Biden's debate, that we remember all of that hollering and screaming and showing out that Trump did at that debate, where I very much will say that I think he lost because he didn't come prepared to debate. This debate he didn't lose, but that one was a problem. So anyways, mics were muted between answers, but they did unmute them a little bit, and they allowed a little bit of back and forth, which I think both candidates behaved themselves pretty well. The candidates did a handshake when they came out. I think that the answers were like limited to 2 minutes, stuff like that. I will say off top, and I'll get back to it at the end, is that a lot of particularly Republicans are saying that Trump didn't do the best at this debate. And I actually don't think that's, in my opinion, I don't believe that. I think that both candidates did well. I could not find a clear winner or clear loser in this debate. I'm going to try to recap this as best as I possibly can. Okay, so they start with the economy. And we start with Vice President Harris, Kamala. Please don't let me say her name wrong. So I forget what the question was. I didn't write down either. But she says that, she was raised as middle class, and she's the only person here tonight with a plan to bring back opportunity to the middle class. We need to build more homes. We need more child tax breaks. She was saying $6,000 tax break to new parents or something like that in their first year or something of parenting. We need $50K in small business tax breaks when someone starts a small business. And she says that Trump's plan is basically to cut taxes on the wealthy and increase sales tax on goods, which the American people don't need right now. We volley back to Trump, and he says that, give me 1 minute. I'm trying to eliminate as much noise as I possibly can. So Trump rebuts and basically says that his plan is not to create additional sales tax. Where this comes from is that Trump has always had a plan about tariffs on imported goods, particularly as it relates to China. And most people say that although that is not a sales tax that will create an increased price to the consumer in goods, yes, and I'm going to be sprinkling in my opinions in between the summary and recap. Yes, from an economic standpoint, that is usually true, but I think that the plan, or at least the thought, is that we need to create a way to increase production in our own country. So we need to import less and produce more. And if we are producing domestically, then there is no tariff, and inherently the price would go down, as well as increasing jobs. And so that rounds out the economy. Now, the plan for that to work, you have to increase the production here. And I think both parties have been doing a good job of bringing back trade and vocational and a production economy, and, saying that, yes, not everybody has to go to college right away. Not everybody wants to. There are a wide variety of opportunities for people to participate in the economy. And as we bring people back to these more production, assembly line, trade economies, we can increase production and lower price from goods and decrease our foreign reliance. So that is me explaining something beyond a soundbite, but that's where that kind of comes from. Trump continues to talk about, the bad inflation. He says that immigrants are pouring in. He brings this back to immigration for nearly every answer. He says immigrants, illegal immigrants pouring into our country is draining on resources. And I don't think that was wrong to say. As a drain on resources, the more people you have to accommodate for, you're stretched thin. And if they're not supposed to be here, then they ain't supposed to be here. So the response, Harris's response was, when Trump left, unemployment was bad. Her administration with Biden, they've cleaned up some of the mess. And she says early on, she says, I just want to say that throughout this debate, you're going to hear the same talking points, same Project 25 details and this and that and the third. Trump says he doesn't have anything to do with Project 25. Trump says he's an open book. Everybody knows that his plan is to cut taxes. You know, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I'm not reading Project 25. I've heard some things about Project 25. It's always some boogeyman every election cycle. I think that last time was 1619 Project. The Republicans kept saying 1619 Project, which was a book that somebody wrote that didn't have anything to do with anybody other than the person who wrote it and the higher ed private institutions that chose, to present it in class in a discussion manner. I think the difference here is with Project 25, there seems to be J.D. Vance wrote the foreword to and he's, Trump's VP pick, and he wrote the foreword to one of the books or something like that. And there just seems to be a lot of people connected intimately with the development of Project 25 who are on the Trump campaign. So is that to say Trump had something to do with Project 25? No. But is that to say that everybody around you seems to have had something to do with Project 25? To me, yes. But you can take that how you want to take it. We continue on the economy. Harris basically says Trump doesn't have a plan. She's named some economists, like the Wharton School of Finance, that says her economic plan would be good. Trump says he went to Wharton, and most people say his plan is good. She says that Kamala doesn't have a plan. She copied from Biden and from him, and basically it's see spot run. I guess that was a jab at her intellect, I guess. What I will say about Vice President Harris, maybe her plan would be a little bit clear to people if she would take more interviews. And I think I posted the link towards Roland Martin's Black Star Network coverage of the debate. That's where I watched the debate this time. I've done C-SPAN in the past. I've done PBS. Sometimes I do it directly from whatever news station is hosting it, whether it be Fox, ABC, NBC, whoever. But, I support local, support small business, increased information. I chose to do Roland Martin this time. But one of the discussions is that she doesn't have to do interviews. Basically, what she's doing is working. She shouldn't have to come do interviews. I think that is baloney. And especially, I shouldn't expect anything less from her than what I expect from everything else. I'm used to candidates doing Sunday shows. I'm used to candidates doing interviews. I'm used to candidates doing town halls. And so since I'm used to that, and I would like to see that for all candidates, she is no different. She needs to get her behind somewhere and do some interviews and some Sunday shows. I don't care if she comes and does it with her VP pick, Tim Walz. I don't care who she does it with, but I think she needs to do it. And another thing I also think is that the point was made that these big news networks are used to controlling the narrative when it comes to politics. I would say that I can see that. I can see that. And so, and more and more information in the age of the internet, information is more accessible to us now. So I don't necessarily think that she should have to do interviews like ABC, Fox, and stuff like that. But why can't she do interviews with some of these, like Roland Martin, like I think TYT is one. I can't think anything more, but it's not just me. I'm not the only person on the internet running their mouth and opinions about politics. There are large platforms, large political influencers and things like that who would love the opportunity to interview her as a candidate. One thing about Donald Trump goes everywhere. And that's part of the reason why his campaigns tend to be successful. He just goes places. He interviewed with the Black journalist. It didn't go quite well, but he went. He was on a lot of those fringe right-wing influencers channels and platforms and stuff like that. He goes. He doesn't distinguish between too big or too small. Somebody invites him to go speak, he just goes and runs his mouth. And honestly, that's good. He has money, but he's running a grassroots campaign. When you just go anywhere talking and running your mouth, it's campaign manager's dream. And I think Kamala needs to do that. And everybody keeps saying that, oh, well, she's busy because she's vice president. It can't be both ways. Either she's VP and she's busy and she makes policy, or she's VP and those are Biden policies, not hers. I'm not saying she's not busy, but what I'm saying is she needs to do interviews, she needs to get on Sunday shows, and she needs to do what is expected of every candidate. And that's how I feel about it. Right, wrong, and different. We're all holding our nose to go vote again this year. And part of the reason why I even got to coming up here running my mouth and giving my opinion is because I'm sick of holding my nose to go vote. And I hope more people, we got to get out this cycle, but let's move on. Let me see. The moderators, we're still on the economy for a little bit. The moderators asked about Trump's tariffs and the price being passed to consumer. I kind of explained that. Trump says the price will be passed to China. Memories of Mexico gonna build a wall. They gonna pay for it. I don't know. Maybe he can. Maybe he can't. But one point Trump makes is that the tariffs that he had in place before when he was president, he said Biden and Harris kept those tariffs in place. They're still there today. So the moderators ask Harris, are they still in place? And she goes on to say Trump sold American chips to China and this and that and the third. But see, are those tariffs still in place? So if those tariffs are still in place and you guys are saying that you are creating this good economy and stuff like that, then that's good. That's good. But let's be clear. Let's answer the question. Trump comes back and says the chips, they were for not American chips, they were Taiwan's chips and something. I don't know. He called Kamala a Marxist. I do not like stuff like that. First of all, just because somebody doesn't agree with you or somebody is on the other side of a position of you doesn't make them all these labels that people want to put. You don't agree with somebody, you don't agree. Someone might be right of an issue, someone might be left of an issue, someone might be center of an issue. It is what it is. But even if she was a Marxist, which I don't think she is, and people need to go read Marxism and communism and stuff like that, so what? One thing about America is that you're allowed to be that. And how our system works, if you find a whole bunch of other people that agree with you to be like that and you run for office, you're in office. So to me, there is no right and wrong way of thinking about how you think government should run, the politics and stuff. How our system works is that you've identified a position that you align with. And if you want to further your position, you run for office and you explain how you feel, what you think government needs to be doing, and you get people to vote for you. And if you find more people to vote for you than they vote for the other one, then you win. and you go, and then there's other people up there, and everybody comes to get. I mean, it's a whole system. So I wish people would simmer down sometimes and critically think and have some logical thinking, and just let's come back to logic. Let's just come back to logic. But when you say things like that, it doesn't incite a group of people who whatever. So then we move on to abortion. And Donald Trump says that, I forget the question. I can't remember if I wrote down the questions to some of this or whatever. I got to do better. Anyways, Donald Trump says, oh, I know. They asked him why he was voting for the restriction in Florida. I can't remember if it's the yes or no, or if it's the yes or no vote that is the vote that will mean that you are for the restriction. I know that sounds funky, but we've all been voters. We know how it works. He says that he's voting for the restriction because he don't want late-term 9-month abortions. He says that people are executing babies after they're born. No, that's illegal. Okay? That's illegal. That's not called an abortion. That's called an illegal. That's not called That's not called an abortion. That's called you going to jail. That's to say that doctors and women around the country are just running around doing something illegal. It's stuff like that. It's stuff like that. No one's doing that. He says that he believes in rape, incest, and life of the mother as exceptions, because those are Reagan exceptions. Well, but then he wants it to go back to the state. He says that everybody wanted this to go back to the state. I don't know who everybody is. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it was everybody wanted it to go back to the states. I just don't. Harris says the Supreme Court is Trump's Supreme Court, and it's Trump's abortion ban. And when we see abortion bans, these are Trump's abortion bans that do not have exceptions. And she says you don't have to abandon your belief to believe that women, and not Trump, which what she should have said was, this is me. This is how I think she should have worded this. She should have said, you don't have to abandon your belief to believe that the government should not be in between your legs and your doctor making decisions. That's how I would have worded it, because that's what the issue is. And I'm going to come back to it at the end, but there's a particular problem with Donald Trump running around calling himself a Republican. Harris goes on to say that Congress is going to pass a bill to protect abortion. Y'all, don't get too caught up in that, because when Obama was in office, there was a point in time where Obama was a Democrat in office, and the House, the Congress was Democrat-led, and the Senate was also Democrat-led. And people were saying, pass a bill on abortion, pass a bill on abortion, pass a bill on abortion. Y'all, what a bill on abortion? Where is it? What a bill on abortion? Ain't seen it. So Congress is deficient on both sides, is deficient. And that's not really true. I'm going to say on the Democrat side, it's a little bit more deficient. When Republicans have congressional power, Senate power, they start passing things. Whether anyone likes them or not, if they said, hey, if we win the Senate and the House, we're going to pass this, we're going to pass that, we're going to sue this, we're going to sue that, that's what they're going to do. Democrats get in office and all that stuff they said they was going to do, they have the House, the presidency, and the Senate, and we don't see nothing. We don't see nothing. I know Biden got in office and he started doing executive orders. Yes, it's an executive order. So that means that while he is executive branch, it will remain in order. And when there's a new executive branch, which is the presidency, there will be new orders. That's how that works. So Democrats, to me, come off as lazy in their legislating at the federal level. I think at the local, state levels, maybe we tend to see a little bit more moving, But Democrats love to say, we're going to pass a bill, we're going to pass a bill. And then y'all get in there, majority, majority, majority. And what a bill? Where's it? Ain't seen it. We continue on abortion. And Trump says the reason there's been a surge in the bans is because, Trump says there was no reason to urge any type of national ban or national vote on a ban because the issue went back to the states. Don't believe that either. Several Republicans have tried to bring bills for a national 6-week ban. And one particular Republican is so bold with it. What's the woman's name? Nancy Mace. She went running around to all types of news stations saying she doesn't support a national ban, only to then vote yes for the national ban when it came up in Congress. And then to say, oh, well, it wasn't going to pass anyway. Okay, well, if it wasn't going to pass anyway, why was it that important for you to vote yes on something you didn't trot it around the country saying you weren't going to vote for? I just want to know. So don't believe that either. And then we go back to my point when I say that when Republicans get in office and they have legislative power, and they have, control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they start passing stuff. So if they say they want a ban, the ban gonna get passed. And then it's gonna go to the Supreme Court. And this is a majority conservative Supreme Court with a good number of Trump appointees, and the likelihood of the Supreme Court is more likely now to interpret things in a manner that the Republican legislature would be friendly to. So there's that. Harris asked, would he support? Oh, Trump asked Harris, would she support any restrictions? And she says that she will support reinstatement of the Roe v. Wade restrictions. Those were trimester based. So you have like the first trimester, no one pays. It is whatever. The second trimester, viability is the question. And then the third trimester, life of the mother, doctors, if there's complications, which does happen. Women have been getting pregnant since the beginning of time. So we know how it works. And for anybody to sit up and act like they don't understand what happens and how the woman and this and the body, and grow up. Trump says that he's been a leader in IVF and fertility. He wants to mandate insurance companies pay for it, and this and that and the third. He says Kamala gonna allow abortions in the 7th, 8th, and 9th month. I don't care. I don't care. I think that some things should be left alone. And I think that people, in a way, like some stuff you really need to mind your business about. And some things that you don't like can exist in this world. And if you don't want them, you don't have to go get them, but they can exist to the benefit of some people. There are cases in a lot of states where women need the procedures that we commonplacely classify under the category of abortion. D&Es. I'm not a doctor. That's a lot of words to try to remember, but there are procedures where looking at them and not being the doctor in the room and not being the woman who is, in some cases, septic, terminal, XYZ, you name it, affected by these decisions, that she may need to get the medical procedure that we classify as abortion. Okay. And let me tell YouTube something. I'm not monetized anyway, but for YouTube to be doing all this censorship of topics, y'all need to grow up and get it together. People want to talk about things. I'm a grown-up. Shouldn't no kids be on this channel? I make sure all my videos say not for kids. That's quick. But these procedures that women need to get for a variety of reasons should be between them and their doctor in a lot of cases. And the doctors, the way that some of these laws are written up, the doctors are scared to perform the procedures for fear of being prosecuted, or the doctors don't want to and they don't have to. And women have to travel to other states to get these procedures, which wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing, except for some states are even saying that they want to prosecute people who are helping people leave the state to go get the procedure, which, grow up, your state is not the only state in the union. It's just, it is becoming a mess. It is becoming a little too messy for me. And I don't think it's well thought out. And I think it comes from a place of ignorance and control. And I do. So then we move on to immigration. How many pages of notes do I have? Woo! Jesus. Okay, so then we move on to immigration. And Harris says that, the question is, why did Biden wait 6 months? Wait until 6 months into the border crisis to take action. And Kamala says, which is true, she says, it didn't answer the question, but this is true. She says there was a bipartisan, agreed upon, good bill on immigration. Trump called in to his buddies, and all of a sudden the Republicans who then helped put forward the bill didn't want to do it anymore because they said, because she says that Trump would rather run on a problem instead of fixing it. I think that was a fair statement. I think that was true because there was a bipartisan bill that all these Republicans were coming out and saying, we got a bipartisan bill. We think we got most of the stuff in that we want. Democrats got some things in there that they want, but ultimately this bill is about border security and we're happy with it. Next thing you know, the same Republicans who helped come up with the bill talking about we ain't gonna pass it. And where that came from? Licking. She then, for whatever reason, she goes into, if you attend one, if it's got petty, if you attend a Trump rally, you're gonna hear about fictional characters and windmills causing cancer, and people gonna be leaving early because they tired. I don't know why this went here, but it did. And Trump said that she don't have no people at her rally. She buses people. First of all, buses was a dog whistle. She buses people into her rally. And then he starts talking about this lie that they are spreading around, that there is a group. I'm not even going to repeat the group because I don't want them associated with this lie, that there's a group of immigrants running around eating pets. Ain't nobody eating pets. It's not happening. It's not happening. I don't care. It's not happening. You know how I know it's not happening? All the shelters are full. The shelters are full. There is no shortage in this country of stray pets. Wherever you, or animals, wherever you live, I know good and well. Do you know the dog catcher had to come around to my apartments to pick up cats? We don't have too much of a stray dog problem, but I guess we had a cat problem. There's no shortage of strays. I don't believe it. I think it was one of the boogeyman lies. I did not like it. Stop doing that. They go back to, a back and forth. Why did you tell him not to pass the bill? Trump say he ain't do that, this and that and the third. I can't. Trump, Harris says she has 200 Republicans who are supporting her and this and that. Trump says she has people that I fired. Trump says that I fired people when they were not doing a good job. He says that the Biden administration acts like they can't fire anybody. Afghanistan, this, that, and the third, nobody was fired. He says that then the moderators ask him about his deportation proposal. Basically, how's he going to round up and deport 1,000 illegal immigrants? He says that basically he said he can do it. he can do it. And I believe it can be done too. My problem with both parties on immigration is Democrats need to secure the border. It is dangerous to just have people coming in here and you don't know who these people are, period. In general, there is no, I've repeated this before in past videos. If I go to XYZ country, I can't just go there, just walk in and stay. I'm going to jail or I'm going to be deported back. Every other country in this world has immigration laws. You can't just go and stay. But for whatever reason, we're scared to have the same laws. And we are being bullied by countries who have immigration laws that we need to let everybody in. But y'all have immigration laws, but we need to let everybody in. It's as simple as saying no. It's as simple as saying no. So that's my issue on the Democrat side. No, everybody can't come in. And then my problem with the Republican side is we need E-Verify. These people would not come here if they didn't have a higher than average likelihood of being successful here. What I mean by that is if they come here, they'll get a job. If they get a job, they'll have money to pay for things. If they have money to pay for things, they have money to pay for food. They have money to pay for housing and this and that and the third. It starts with the can get a job part. We should have E-Verify, period. Every job you go on in this country should have, and I don't, honestly, if the federal government has to pay for it, then they have to pay for it. Whoever has to pay for it. Federally, every job you go on in this country should have a instant verification of your national status to this nation. You know why? If these people did not think they could get here and make a better life for themselves, a lot of them would not come, because most people, given the choice between I'm not so sure if it's going to be good when I go there, but it's livable now, are going to stay with livable now. A lot of times these caravans, they are coming from not good living conditions to America, where they most likely will be able to get a job and have significantly better living conditions. If given the choice is between not good living conditions and significantly better living conditions, if I just make it, they're going to pick the significantly better ones. So we need to have a way to where all that migrant labor, that's fine if they have proper paperwork. If I go to X, Y, and Z country and I want to work, I'm probably going to have some paperwork. All these little nice European countries that act like America is so this and so that, go there without proper paperwork if you want to and see what happens. And one reason why immigration is becoming a big topic outside of border states is because border states started busing them up to these Democrat states. New York, y'all keep talking about, oh, Texas is racist because they don't want all these illegals at the border. They started busing them to New York, busing them to Connecticut, busing them to Chicago and all these places. So here, if you think it's so wonderful, then you deal with it, but you don't want to deal with it because it ain't wonderful. That's what you get. And I don't feel bad. The border needs to be secured, the southern border. Everybody always talks about the northern border and this and that. Yeah, they need to be secured too. But if the level of traffic coming in is less than, and significantly less than, the level of traffic coming into the southern border, we need to take care of to the detrimental one first. Anyways, I'm moving on from immigration because enough of the notes. Then we get on to talk about DOJ weaponization. And Donald Trump basically says that the Biden administration has weaponized the court against him, and that's why he has all these lawsuits and this and that. And Trump says he took a bullet to the head because of these people. I'll come back a little bit to like the language and the tone kind of at the end when I give my overall thoughts. And I'm gonna sum this up kind of quickly. Do I think that the DOJ and all of these lawsuits are because Trump is being weaponized against? Not necessarily, no. Do I think Trump is in court like a good number of high profile people in court is because he did stuff and we went opening his mouth and now stuff then caught up with him and he's in court? Yes. Do I also think that the reason he's in court because of election interference is because they did not want to impeach him when they should have? They should have impeached him, but the same Senate Republicans who are supposed to be sitting as jurors were sitting up also trying to give his legal team tips. It's just ridiculous. I don't know why people are, I don't know about this idol worship of Trump, but it has to go. But anyways, do I think that there is a DOJ weaponization against Trump and that's why he has all these charges? No. However, do I think that some of these charges are from the 2016 election, but y'all just decided to bring them last year before last, when Trump has not been in hiding and you didn't even try to bring the charges even when he was in office? I think that's suspicious. Do I think that, and again, I'm a licensed attorney. I've said before, it's not like I'm speaking from a place where, yes, do I understand that the legal system is slow moving? Sure. But we've seen cases move quick. This doesn't have to be as slow moving as it is. Do I think that if y'all wanted charges, there was a better way to go about this to make it look a little bit better? And that's how I feel. The timing, the way we're doing it, it doesn't look good. Real close to election. Why? When you knew about this information when? What'd you know? When'd you know it? So that's that. They asked Vice President Harris, they say, you've changed policies. Do you want to address that your switch up on these policies? And she says that I think the switch up was like there would be no fracking ban when she ran in 2020 against Biden, against that field. And she says her values haven't changed, basically. She says that she's never been against fracking. I don't remember her being against fracking. So fracking, for anybody that wants to know, basically when they're looking for minerals, oil, fossil fuels in the earth, they can put it's soap. It's basically a chemical that's used in soap, surfactants or something like that, to frack or create a fracture in stone to get to the pockets of the fossil fuels. So everybody keeps saying fracking. I don't think a lot of people know what it means. I had a teacher explain it to me one time, so now I know. Now you do. I don't remember her being against fracking. I actually do remember her saying we need to diversify our energy usage, which, duh, I just think that makes sense. We tell people to diversify their investment portfolios, their retirement portfolios. When people start to make money, the first thing they do is try to find ways to diversify the ways money come in. So yes, we should diversify the way we run energy. The way you get energy in one region may not work in another region. So there may be a place where we can put a solar panel on every other house, but then there might be another place where we have to do the traditional way because the solar panel is not going to be as effective. Or wind might work one place to generate electricity, and then there's battery issues and this and that and the third. So yeah, we should diversify. But she says that her values haven't changed. You know, she wants to come up with ways to lift people up and not beat people down and come to solutions to fix the problem. Let me see. Trump says that she was against fracking. for 12 years. I don't believe that. He says that she was for defund the police. And then like she goes to say something. He says, I'm talking now. Does that sound familiar? I'm talking now. So this is when I noticed that the debate started to not necessarily devolve, but I do know that I felt like Trump started to kind of this is where he started to get agitated. Now, so this is where his energy changed, basically. I don't think it changed in a way that was detrimental to him. I think he just, a lot of this stuff, people saying, well, he shouldn't have been saying this. He says that all the time anyway. Why'd y'all think he was going to get to the debate and say any different? His demeanor wasn't so bad. It's a debate. It's not, you know, mammy-pamsy land. It's a verbal spar about issues that the American people want to hear about. But I definitely think that his energy changed at this point. Just my assessment. Trump says that she wants to do transgender. I'm not even gonna repeat that. I don't believe it, and I'm not repeating it. And if grow up. So then we talk about the peaceful transition of power on January 6th. They asked Trump, does he have any regrets? Trump says no. He said it was peaceful and a patriotic speech. And then he brings up that lady Ashley Babbitt who got shot. She got shot because she was doing something she wasn't supposed to be doing, breaking in to an official process at the Capitol. And they didn't know what she had on her, who she was. There was a lot of weapons around that day. She got shot because she should not have been there doing what she was doing. And I don't understand how, you know, they can say everybody else gets shot because they was doing something they wasn't supposed to be doing. But we have her on camera trying to jump over people and break into the Capitol building where Congress people were trying to have a formal federal process. I don't want to hear about her no more. I don't. He brings up the BLM riots. That was not the same. I don't care what people say. Oh, is it supposed to be different because it was it was up at Capitol Hill? Yeah, actually it is. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit it is. That day on Capitol Hill, at least 2 people in direct line of succession from the president were in grave danger. Yeah, it was a little different. A little bit. Should they have, to the BLM, whatever riots, should those have been gotten under control? Sure. But just like we have different laws for state crimes, federal crimes, you know, you can steal this much and go to jail for this much. But if you steal this much, it becomes grand larceny. Yeah, I do think it was a little bit different. Anyways, Vice President Harris repeats that it was a violent mob. And she brings up Charlottesville and says he likes that type of stuff. Trump says Charlottesville was debunked. Trump says she needs to go back to D.C., get Biden out of bed, and sign a bill on the border. But here we go again. They had a bill on the border. The Republicans actually had helped write the bill on the border. And then they went back on it because of you. So the moderator says, are you acknowledging that you lost in 2020? Trump says no. He says the election cases were lost on technicality. No. Nope. It's not for me. It's not for me. Let's see. We kept with this for a little bit. And I remember Trump was talking something about in Hungary. He said that some person in Hungary said that he should have won, and this is, who gives up? Who cares? I remember writing that down. I was like, who cares? And honestly, this is where I kind of started to get sleepy. I don't understand why that debate had to start at 9. I really don't. So then we talk about the Israel-Hamas war, and then we talk about the Russia and Ukraine war. I'm going to do a separate video on both of these wars. I am slightly sick of hearing about them. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. And let me try to get through this as quickly as possible. Harris wants a two-state solution. Trump says that, he could talk to the president of Russia and get everything settled in Ukraine. And if he was still president, it wouldn't have happened. It's called hubris, overweening pride. You can't stop telling other people how to run their stuff. This is fine. You can have little spheres of influences and this and like that. But Trump getting up there acting like he can control Vladimir Putin is ridiculous. Harris says that, a lot of dictators, Trump likes dictators and stuff like that. They laugh about him around the world. He wants to be, it's a lot of people who want him to be back in office because he aligns with what they want. Let me see. They asked Donald Trump, does he want Ukraine to win? And he just says he wants the war to stop. Whatever. Says that. Now, one thing I did agree with Trump on, and I'm summing up both Israel, Hamas, Russia, and Ukraine in one go, because this is our election and we ain't gonna spend too much time talking about other people's mess, because we done spent too much money, $2 million and not enough sense, if you ask me. But Trump does say that Biden doesn't have the courage to tell Europe that they need to put up the money. Trump has repeated this several times, and I agree with him. I agree. Why can't they put up the money? Y'all, when we go around, Americans need to wake up. Listen to how other people talk about Americans around the world. Americans are dumb. Americans are this, ignorant. We don't know this. We don't know that. Yet, we always the first one that somebody comes to with their hand out. If we're so dumb and we're so this and we're so that, why are we the first person you call for help? The dumb ones? The ignorant ones? That we the first people you go to for help? Go to other places and as an American, start trying to tell them how to run their government and what they should be doing. And you're going to be a talk show host and tell them about this as an American citizen. See if it works for you. We do need to start telling these other nations, we are not the caretaker. We have problems here. As much money as we spend on foreign aid, we should never have anybody who has served their country and they finished out their tour term or whatever it was they were supposed to do, shouldn't have to worry about nothing in this country. We should not have any homeless vets, none, fighting for the liberties of other people around the world, paying for it, yet we have our vets on the street. It shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen. And I don't want to hear the narrative, oh, well, some homeless vets, they don't, well, I want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So I agree with him there. He says that Zelensky and Putin, they respect, this is what Trump said, your president. They respect your president. What Trump was probably supposed to say was, they respect your boy. But that's not his lingo. Something probably happened there with the debate prep. I don't know what. Anyways, Trump says that the Biden administration is going to lead us into World War III. He says it's in the U.S. best interest to get the war done now that we're paying for it, this and that. The moderator asked Harris, would she deal differently with Putin than Biden does? She says she supports Ukraine. And she says Trump is basically going to just give Ukraine up to Putin. I don't know. And we spend a little bit too much time on it. And we're moving on. We talk about Afghanistan. We talk about the withdrawal from Afghanistan. They asked Harris, does she believe that she bears any responsibility? She says she agrees with the withdrawal. She says that there are no active duty U.S. military combatants in any foreign wars right now for the first time in a while. And she says that Trump had negotiated this, not with the Afghan government, but he was negotiating with the Taliban to give them some Basically, this was Trump's deal. And by the time they got into it, they had to do what they had to do, is basically how I heard of it. Trump said the Taliban was killing a lot of U.S. soldiers with snipers. And so he had told Abdullah, you know, not to do that anymore. And they sent him a picture of his house and said, that's the end of that. And he says the Taliban wasn't listening to the government anyway, so it wouldn't have been no use trying to go through the government. It's kind of basically what I got out of that. I somewhat believe Trump, but I also believe, and I'm going to get off this, with the withdrawal of Afghanistan, I remember months of telling the U.S. citizens there that we were going to withdraw, and this is the schedule to get everybody home. What happened was a lot of people waited to the last minute. And I don't know why we don't like to hold all parties accountable. There were a lot of people who had made families in Afghanistan and, you know, U.S. citizens and who had made lives there and whatever it is, liked it there, whatever. And they waited to the last minute to try to get out. And it was a mess. But again, months of telling people we're withdrawing. So everybody kind of makes it sound like, oh, we just withdrew one day and didn't give people enough time. But if I'm just a regular person, and I remember the months of discussion about withdrawal and plane schedules and trying to get people out, y'all didn't. I lived outside of the country. When I lived outside of the country, every morning and every night, and sometimes in the middle of the day, I pulled up as much United States news and radio as I can get. And this wasn't like in the olden days, I ain't that old, but I was definitely keeping informed about what was going on back stateside. Because if at any event it sounded anything like, hey, it's time to go, guess who would have been on the first thing smoking? I'm not waiting to the last minute. Why? And then it wait till the last minute and cry? Are you kidding me? So while there was probably some fault to go around for everybody, and do I think things could have been handled better? I also want to acknowledge the fact that it wasn't like it was just, hey, this week we leaving, you know, figure it out in a week. It was months. So we move off Afghanistan. We talk about race, and they, I just got to laugh at my little thumbnail. And they asked Trump if he thought it was appropriate to say that Kamala Harris had turned black or whatever, however he said that ignorant mess. And he basically said, I don't care. I don't care if she wasn't black, is black, it's up to her. That actually was a good answer. That was a good answer. On my thumbnail, I have turning black and turning coat, because that's how I sum this up. One that told the other one that you done turned black, and one is basically calling the other one a turncoat as it relates to January 6th. That's pretty much what's going on. Harris says that Trump always uses race throughout his career, and he had refused to rent to black families once upon a time, and brings up the Central Park 5 stuff and the birther movement with Obama. Trump says that the Biden-Harris administration is the most divisive administration. She says that she has to stretch back 50, 40 years to bring up stuff that he done did. She can't come up with anything now, and that their policies are bad, and that's the bottom line. Harris says she is clearly not Biden, and he is not running against Biden. He is running against her. So he is running against her policies. She says she wants to offer a new generation of leaders some type of optimism, and she doesn't want to spend time disparaging people. She repeats a few times, she wants to lift people up, not tear them down. Trump says that her plan is to defund the police and ban fracking and this and that and the third. We get off race. All I'm going to say about Trump and telling this woman that she done turned black and this and that, every conversation is not for everybody. I have a lot of friends who are in like the LGBT whatever community. And so I'm privy to some conversation. I've done some activist work. Everything ain't for everybody to discuss. Simple as that. There are things that I would leave to them to talk about. Um, but also, am I surprised that Trump said some mess like that? No, not really. Um, Not really, no. I'm gonna move on, try to come back to it at the end. So then we talk about Obamacare. Trump talks, they asked Trump, your plan was always to get rid of it. You didn't get rid of it. He says he inherited it. Um, Harris always supports private options, but she thinks there should obviously be a government option too. She brings up the fact that John McCain was the one who saved Obamacare. And I remember when he had just been diagnosed with a particular cancer, and he flew up to Capitol Hill to not vote on something, and it was a procedural vote. And John McCain, obviously the late great, can explain it way better than I could, but he didn't like the process, how we got the bill there, and this and that and the third. I don't want to hear anything more about Obamacare, or excuse me, I don't want to hear anything more about the Affordable Health Care Act. I always had an issue with the one component out of the Affordable Care Act that was an individual mandate. I am a Republican, a real one, not a Trumplican. So believe in a limited role of government. And when you start mandating someone to buy a service, that's a little too much for me. It's just because you're born, when you reach the age of majority, you have to have this. It's a little bit too much for me. But the Supreme Court decided that was severable, which means that the law can exist without that clause if that clause was deemed to be unconstitutional, and they deemed that to be unconstitutional, and they struck it down. And so now we have components of the Affordable Care Act that do not include that individual mandate. So what does that mean with the existing Affordable Care Act? It means that if you do not want to choose a government healthcare plan, you don't have to. You can buy a private healthcare plan. Now, good luck doing it. For whatever reason, healthcare in this country is shoestring to your employer. So for most people, if you are not with an employer who offers healthcare, then it's very difficult to get healthcare just on your own. And so then the next method becomes buying healthcare on the government marketplace, which is still private purchasing. Once you get on the marketplace, they show you plans, and then you have to go through the private company to access that plan. That's the way you do it. So basically, you don't have to go get insurance only through your employer. So that's a component that remains. There were other components about digitizing records because people move. And if you move, or if you're somewhere in 2024, they should be able to get what they need about blood type, this, that, and the third from a computer. So I don't care. I don't think anyone cares. What does it have to go away for? It's another schematics of insurance. What we need to talk about is why you can't buy insurance across state lines. When did that come about, and why? It seems real dumb. I'm in the process of considering a move. I have an amazing dental insurance, and I have amazing dentists. When I move, I cannot take that dental insurance with me. Now, I think that I can still fly to the dentist that I like and just pay out of pocket, which is fine. I'm not sure why I can't just have dental insurance. And if I find a dentist who wants to accept the dentist insurance, or who wants to, accept it as an out-of-network provider, it just can't happen. But whatever. Anyways, I don't care about Obamacare. I don't care about the Affordable Health Care Act. Individual mandate is gone. What remains is just some guidelines about things that if you're a healthcare provider, if you're an insurance provider, these are things that need to happen. I'm moved on. We talk about climate change, and Vice President Harris says that Trump believes that climate change is a hoax, and she wants to invest in clean energy and diversify and da da da. Trump says that this administration lost 10,000 automotive jobs in a month because of their plans and this and that. He brings it back to China needs tariffs. He says China paid Biden thousands. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that no more. Somebody can show me a check. I'll entertain that conversation. Somebody needs to give me a little bit more evidence. Then he says I don't know. I was done. So basically, when it comes to climate change, I just think it's ridiculous to stay stuck in we should diversify energy, period. Just for the simple fact of, again, diversifying anything is a good key to success, because then when one goes down, you have another one and this and that. We should increase our understanding of battery technology so that when we have wind turbines or solar panels or the hydroelectric stations, that we can better store those into batteries to then, figure out a way to reroute it better and this and that and the third. And fossil fuels will run out. We don't know when they're going to run out, but they will, because it's finite. It's there. The earth is big. I mean, it might last for a while, but one day it may run out. In general, everybody should diversify most things. If you are a science person, you learn that if you have an ecosystem and diversity is lost in that ecosystem, the ecosystem is most likely to fail. As people, if you have a community that is not diversified, I got a good example. The reason why inbreeding does not work is because you are not diversifying the genes. You are not diversifying the pool of genetics that a kid can choose from to give them the most genetic success, the highest likelihood of genetic success. We need to diversify in general. And I don't understand people to where if you see people developing ways to use solar panels, if you don't want to use the solar panel on your house, don't use it. If you still just want to, you don't want to get into the solar panel industry, then stay out of it. You just want to do gas or whatever you want to do, then go do it. It's a market for that too. Everything's not going to work everywhere. Now, one thing with the Biden administration I don't like is this situation with electric cars. I don't know when this electric car situation came about. It used to be hybrid cars. I'm someone that likes to travel. An electric car is not going to get it for me. I need a hybrid car so that when I go on a long trip, if I want to, I can gas it up. But when I'm local, usually when I'm local, I don't do too much. I don't go too far local. I can charge that. So I don't know when this whole situation where everything has to be fully electric in terms of cars came about. But I just wish people would stop thinking way on one side and way on the other side. I feel like hybrid cars is a happy median for everybody. If your lifestyle requires quick gas trip to do whatever you need to do, then you can do that. But then if you're someone who mostly gets A to B within city limits, electric would work for you. I don't know why we can't have conversations like that. Why does it have to be all the way over here and all the way over there? I know why. Stupidity. So then we get to the closing remarks and we are wrapping up, and this didn't take as long as I thought it would. So in closing, Trump says that she had 3.5 years to do the things she's talking about doing. She hasn't done it. And, the stuff she believes in ain't good. And she's going to cause World War III. And this has been the worst president in history. Harris sums up and says that, we're not going back. She does have a plan. Remember what I said. You got a plan, but you need to tell people about it on interviews and Sunday shows. She wants to create opportunity, and she wants to bring down the cost of living. and, you know, respect people's rights and freedoms. And she wants to invest in us. Cool. That sums it up. So my overall thoughts, and I sprinkled some of them in here. So, you know, it, you guys kind of got it at the same time. Overall, I think it was an even debate. I don't think there was a clear winner or loser. I think they both made points. I think they both outlined their positions well. To me, a successful debate is where the American people learn more about where the candidates stand on positions. And I would argue that if Donald Trump from this debate had showed up to that crazy debate where he went off the rails with Biden, I think Trump would have won. To not the Biden debate this year, but the 2020 Biden debate. So to compare and contrast what I mean by that, the 2020 Trump Biden debate, I think that debate was a failure. For who? The American people. All we heard was Trump yelling and screaming. We did not learn where the candidates stood in opposition to each other on positions to make an informed decision. To me, that was a failure. These debates are for the American people. They're for us, we the people. So this debate tonight, we learned, I think, American people learned a lot about, you know, how the parties compare and contrast when it comes to positions. And I think, yeah, they got a little heated at times, but again, it's a debate. It's not going to be all roses and sunshine. And I thought it was good on both sides. My criticisms for the debate as a whole, we did not talk about gun violence. This debate was done after a fatal school shooting in Georgia, and we didn't bring up gun violence unless I missed it. And I don't think I did. I was sleepy, but I wasn't that sleepy. And so that whole section where we talked about Israel, Hamas, and Congress can't, the president can't have treaties and wars and stuff without the approval of Congress anyway. But that whole section where we talked about Israel, Hamas, and Ukraine and Russia, we needed to talk about gun violence. Our own business, we could have cut that short, or we could have had a separate situation, some sit down with that or something like that, cut that short and talked about gun violence. This was a repeat of topics from the first debate because we have, even though this is Trump's second debate, this is his first debate with the actual person he's running against. And so that was a little bit unfortunate. And Trump has said that he's not going to have another one. So he's not going to have another debate. So I don't know. I don't know why we can't have another debate. He's running around saying she wants another debate because she lost. Okay, whether she lost or not, if you think you did such a good job, you don't think you can do another good job? And, you know, those things, whatever. But overall, I think it was good. Let me see. Let me just make sure I haven't missed anything. I don't think I did. I think I've been here long enough running my mouth. That is all for me. So what I will say is I have a website. And if you want more written content, if you want to see all of my content, if you want to see I have merchandise, if you want to see my store or learn any more about me, if you want to see where I am running campaigns, please visit my website. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this video. And I will catch you guys in the next one.